Aloha Algebra 1 students. Today we are drawing scatter plots, and this is going to be the graphic organizer that we use today. You'll need a total of 4 different color highlighters, a pencil, and a straight edge. If you have not filled in your table of contents, please make sure that you fill in the table of contents. And this includes everything that we're going to be doing for this mini unit. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So when we're drawing a scatter plot, we're always going to have a graph because that's what we're going to draw on. And then we're going to have a set of data. Now the data will usually always be in some kind of table. And remember that when we're reading a table, this is always the x-axis, and this is the x column or the x input, and this is our y column or the y output. And that's going to coincide with this graph here. So step 1, we're first going to title the scatter plot. When you are given data, you may not be given context. You usually will be given context, like a story that says Kaimana is selling shave ice and is analyzing his shave ice sales depending on what the temperature is outside. And so if you're given context, great. If you're not given context, you just have to go straight off of the data that you are given and create a title from that. So as you can see, we have temperature and shave ice sales. And so I'm just going to label my graph here something that goes along the lines of shave ice sales dependent on temperature. And I'm just going to say shave ice sales. So use one of your colors. Let's highlight, title, scatter plot, and let's use that same color to title it. In this case, it's shave ice sales. Okay. Step 2, we're going to label the axis. So we have 2 different axes. We have an x-axis and a y-axis. And like we mentioned earlier, or like I mentioned earlier, this is always the x column or the input, and this is always our y column or our output. Now, the labels or titles of our x and y, these are called variables. And these variables are going to be what we label our axes with. So on the x-axis, it says temp. And I'm going to put here temperature. Our unit is Celsius or degrees in Celsius. And so we would say 18 degrees Celsius, 31 degrees Celsius, 16 degrees Celsius, and so forth. Okay, let's look at our y side. Our y side says shave ice sales. And so here on the y-axis, I'm going to label y-axis as shave ice sales. And our unit here is money or dollars. And so as we're looking here at these numbers, it's $92, $235, $100, $185, and so forth. So our x-axis is our temperature in Celsius. And again, we got that straight off of our graph in the x column. And our y-axis is labeled shave ice sales, and we got that straight from the y-axis column. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to number both axes. And so when we're numbering it, to me, this is actually the most complicated part of the whole scatter plot. And so let's take our time looking at the graph, looking at our data, and talking through labeling these as numbers. Okay, so first off, when we are numbering the axes, we have to include all of these numbers along the axis. So let's look at just the x-axis here. And I have my lowest number is 16. My highest number is 31. And I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. And I know that I need to get up to 31. And so I need to figure out a way to fit from 0, because this is always our 0 line, all the way to 31. Now again, I said I had 10 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so one way that we can do this is we can use increments of 3, where I start here at 0, and I would go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. And that fits everything. If I had chose something like go in increments of 1, I know that I could only get up to 10, so that's not going to fit. If I did increments of 2, because I only have 10 lines, that would only get me up to 20, and that wouldn't get me very far. 3, I could get up to 30. Even if I did 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. But I'd have all this extra room that I would not be using. And so I say stick to the closest increment of where it's going to fit all of your data. So here we're going to have 3, 6, 9, 12, and so forth, all the way to 30. And so my first piece of data would be somewhere over here on the x-axis, and my highest piece of data would be somewhere over here on the x-axis. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the y-axis, and let's count our numbers here. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 lines here also. So as I'm looking at my data, I start at 92, and I end at 235. And so I can't go by 1s, I can't go by 2s, I can't go by 3s. If I went by 4s, that would only get me to 80. If I went by 5s, that would get me to, actually no, 4s would get me to 40, 5s would get me to 50. If I went by 10s, that would only get me to 100. And so when we are getting up that far, what we might want to think about doing is using that scale break. It says find a scale that fits the graph, check the lowest and highest number, use a scale break if needed. Now remember, our scale break from our vocab is just a squiggly line, and we can use it on either temperature, x-axis, or y-axis for the sales. So I'm going to look into using a scale break. And so I'm looking at my numbers, 235 down to 90. And I know that if I use a scale break here, I can start at 60 and just go up by 20s. So 60, 20, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200, 220, 240. And I've gotten everything from 90 all the way to 235. Because 90 is somewhere in here and 235 is somewhere in here. So I have encompassed my lowest and highest number. Okay, again, numbering scales, we do 3 things. We find a scale that fits the graph, so our increments. Here we did it by 3. Here we did it by 20, but we also use a scale break. We also need to make sure our lowest and highest numbers are included in our axis. And then again, we use our scale break if needed. And when we're drawing a squiggly line, we're just going to be, you can draw just 2. You can draw 3, as I drew 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, that's our scale break. Okay, pick up your next color. Let's highlight, plot data. And what we're going to do is everything that we're given here, we're going to plot on this graph. I always just start from the first one and go downward. Again, you can start anywhere you want, but just make sure that you haven't forgotten any data, because it's important that we include all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of data on here. And because we have 6 pieces of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I will only have 6 dots. Okay, the first one is 1892. So on the X, I'm going to go to 18. On the Y, I'm going to go to 92. Let's see, it's about there. And plot a point. Okay, next I'm going to go to 31 and 235. So 31, when it was 31 degrees, so just a little bit after this 30, it was about 200. This person earned $235. So it's going to be, I'd say, about there. Okay, the next one is 16 and 100. So 16 is between 15 and 18. I'm just going to approximate it to be right there. And 100 is right here. So let's put a point right there. Next is 26 and 185. So 26, we know it's closer to 27. I'm going to go up to 185, which is about right there. and plot a point. My next one is 22 and 180. So 22 is right after here. 180, plot a point. And lastly is 20 and 139. So right here, 20 is before 21. We're going to go up to 139, which is under 140, and plot a point. So that is plotting data. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is draw the LOBF. And remember, this is the line of best fit. So pick up your last color. And when we're drawing a line of best fit, you also need your straight edge because it needs to be a straight line. And what we're doing is we are looking at this line, and we can see that the trend is that it's a positive slope going upward. And so we're going to line up our straight edge along our dots, and we're going to try to situate it so that it is in the middle of all of these dots going upward. And so draw your line so that it is going upward through as many dots as possible and fit into the middle of all of these dots. So as you can see, I'm hitting like 4 different dots with 2 dots on the side, and they're kind of equal to this line. The distance between this and this is very equal to the line. And so this would be our line of best fit, the line that goes through most of the data towards the center of the data. Okay, so again, we have title, scatterplot, label the X and Y axis, which is temperature and shave ice. Also paying attention to the units, Celsius, degrees, and money. We're then going to number the axes, and remember that we have to encompass all of our data on the graph, and so our numbers have to encompass all of these numbers here. We use a scale break if we need. We're going to plot our data, and then we're going to draw our line of best fit, or LOBF. Okay, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. For all of the homework that we're doing, you're going to be given data and a graph, and I'm going to expect you to do all of these 5 things. Okay, have an awesome day.